thestockminer.com here in the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm Brian Johnson. Had a wonderful time at the webinar last night. I want to thank everybody that showed up. We ended up going about 4 hours, I think, by the time it was all done, 3 or 4 hours. We spent quite a bit of time going over stuff, and as we got into it, I just kept thinking about more and more things I'll bring up and mention, and good questions, and just lots of it was really a very, very good time. I think we covered a lot of ground. We went over a ton of information. So hopefully I've got people on the right track for their Elliott Wave stuff. Something I'll probably do again in the future. So if you are interested and didn't get to make the first one, by all means, send me an email sometime and just say, hey, I might be interested in the next one, and I'll make sure and let you know when and if I do it again. It was really, it's a good time. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure I will do it again sometime. All right, the markets were up then down. End of the day, we started to see a little bit of a slip. That last hour and a half, well, hour and a half, I'd say, we started to kind of slip backwards from the highs of the day as it wandered its way sideways, and then, as I said, end of the day, kind of saw a little bit of a drop. And so we got up above some levels, but we're not able to hold those levels by the end of the day, finishing just a little up for the day, but overall flat. Take a look at the charts and see where we went for the day, and you can see we tried to poke our head above, couldn't hold it. So here we are again, right back below these levels, looking for another attempt back up and over these. You can bet we'll be watching this very closely into next week. Now, for the week, it's Friday, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Starting the week right at around that 12,200 mark and making it to 12,400. So, a decent move, 200 points, not bad, but very indicative, once again, of what we've seen in the past. Up a little, pull back. Up a little, move sideways. Up a little, pull back. Same kind of story here. This move here has been a major pullback. But it looks like we are either ready for another pullback or maybe a consolidation in through here. But next week, we'll watch this pretty closely. Even after a pullback, I think I'm still expecting and looking for some higher prices down the road. So NDX 60-minute coming back into this lower area here, holding on the 60-minute as you see the drop this afternoon. Back into some lower support, and by the end of the day putting in a big black candle, but overall still doing very, very well. This little high base thing pushed its way upwards, so keeping with the momentum, up sideways, up sideways, up sideways, and up yet again. Not reaching these overhead levels quite yet, but the NASDAQ doing so far so good. Let's see if it can hold on to that coming into next week, or if we start to see a little bit of a pullback. From a weekly perspective too, holding up nicely. This finished at or around about where we were looking at yesterday, just up from where it was. For the week, you can see it up over 1%. So a very, very nice, decent move within the NDX itself. SPX 60-minute as well, showing us up and over the 1330-ish area into almost 1340, which was my next larger area of overhead resistance. We didn't quite make it. You can see the markets tried, ran sideways, and then at the end of the day started to see that drop. But looking at it bigger picture, that drop really was of no consequence whatsoever. So still stuck up here right around that 1330-ish mark, which has been kind of a booger the last few days. I mean, made it above it, but not really in any great, not a great strong move above overhead resistance. However, guys, the move is still up. Bulls are just doing what they always do, or have been doing, and that's grind this thing upwards. So we're still looking at some nice, good, bullish action in through here. Even though we're not moving a lot at the end of a day, we're still moving. Very tricky trading once again because of the gaps, though. So wanted to catch some of this stuff early in the morning. That would have been your opportunity to trade today. But by the end of the week, if you'd been holding to the long side, you did very, very well. VIX confirmed all week long as we came back down way into these lower levels of 17-ish area now. As you can see, the bleeding of the volatility. Did hold, though, by the end of it, above this little blue line. So holding above the channel still works in some favor to the bears, but it hasn't been much consolation. How about that? So if you're a bear, it's the only thing to hang your hat on, but it isn't really all that much. We're back below the 19 area. 1920-ish area is where I want to be if we're really going to start to see some bullish or some bearish a bearish atmosphere in the markets. Just don't see it. Still running straight down, holding on this stuff here, and by the end of the week closing lower by 2%. Fears coming out of the markets again, guys. Apple 60-minute was down. Big gap up today, and then the straight run down. Now, we didn't break these lower levels that I've been talking about until the very, very end of the day. That is not my let's just say I'm not interested in that type of a trade on a light Friday. So there were opportunities to get short from a daily perspective once it broke these areas here and sneak a little bit of money out of Apple for the day. But overall, not really much to talk about. This candle, though, looks quite grimacing for the time being. We are back below all three levels of support and a huge bearish engulfing candle by the end of the day. Actually, guys, pretty decent participation. This is definitely something that at the end of the day, I took a look at the charts and went, oh boy. So if you're bullish on Apple, you're going to want to be very careful coming into next week's trading. For the week, down yet again. Now, bigger picture though, you can see while the Friday candle definitely was a little bit ominous. The overall weekly, not really quite so scary. Now we do have room down into 335, and that is quite a move. It's $9. So we do have opportunities maybe to look at, but we haven't broken necessarily anything from a major bull standpoint yet in Apple. So while the Friday candle could lead to a little bit more of some selling coming into early next week, in the bigger picture, I'm not sold on the bigger bear move quite yet. FAS saw the gap up. This is uninteresting to me. Gap up, run right back down. Kind of up and over into our overhead areas here. You can see the gap took us right to my support area. So maybe a couple of pennies to be pulled out of here, but from the financial standpoint, we're just grinding our way upwards. These things have not been following along necessarily very well. About the same rate as the NASDAQ is. We're just not seeing big pushes one way or the other. FAZ from a 60, same type of thing. Moving our way downwards into these lower levels. And once again, the gap down, followed by a little bit of a push to the downside and on back up. Now, where are we at? We're definitely below this lower channel here. This has got me a little bit more cautious for sure on the financials. Coming into early next week, this is absolutely the level I'll be watching, and breaks below 38 will probably lead itself to more selling as opposed to more buying, which a lot of FAZ fans I know are hoping for. They were hoping this level would hold. No such luck. The chart just is what it is, and technical analysis has played itself out. Just breaks of these lines have led to more selling, albeit slow selling nonetheless. So here we are, back into this lower channel, holding on and waiting to see if the financials are going to slip or if they're going to gain some strength as we enter next week's trading. Okay, for the week, that was we saw good moves within the markets all the way around. Had a great time in the Elliott Wave webinar. The bulls are still doing fine within the markets, pushing and pulling these things back up above these levels and showing still good strength overall within the markets themselves. We will absolutely be watching this level coming into early next week's trading. I'm getting some mixed signs, mixed signals right now from the markets themselves. But let me give it a day to kind of let my brain rest. I'll start hitting it again tomorrow night and into Sunday, and we'll give you another evaluation sometime this weekend. I might be kind of busy, so we may or may not have a Sunday video. If not, I'll definitely be back with you guys on Monday. But you guys enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.